Today, I'm going to be reading Chapter 33 of Ground Zero by Alan Gratz. This chapter is titled Bananas and Pink Grapefruit. Brandon followed the sound of Woody Guthrie's "This Land Is Your Land" through the darkness and found Richard trapped under a part of a wall. Help me get him out of here, Brandon cried. Together, Brandon, Pratik, and Gali were able to lift the layers of drywall high enough for Richard to crawl out. When Richard was free, Brandon dropped to his knees and threw his arms around him. "Brandon," Richard cried, hugging him back. "I couldn't hear and I couldn't see. I thought I'd been blinded and deafened by the blast, so I just started singing. I couldn't even hear myself, but I hoped someone else would." "And you did. You saved my life, kid." "Now we're even," Brandon said. He wasn't sure Richard heard him, but he'd make sure he told him again later. "We need to find one of the exits up onto the street," Pratik told them. Brandon didn't want to move, didn't want to let Richard go, but he knew they had to get out of here. And he kept the others waiting long enough. Richard was wobbly and had to lean on Brandon to stand, but he could make it. Which way do we go? I still can't see a thing, Gali said. What if we walk right into the hole in the floor and fall down into the subway tunnel? Pratik asked. Someone crunched in the near distance, like a rock shifting, and the ceiling groaned. "I don't think we have a lot of choices," Brandon said. "We have to try," said Gilly. She took their hands, human chain. Brandon went first. He was the closest to the ground and could feel his way as they went. Pratik was the biggest of them, and he took over helping Richard walk. Brandon moved very slowly, pushing his waterlogged sneakers forward an inch, then another inch, then another. The darkness was total and complete. Pratik was right. The blast might have blown holes in the roof. Would he stumble into a hole and fall to his death, walk straight into a broken window, and slice himself into pieces? Brandon had to fight down his panic. The only way out of here was if they all kept their cool. Brandon kicked things as he went: broken glass, pieces of drywall, wet clothes, soda cups, shoes, boxes, with unknown things in them. He called out warnings about obstacles to the others when he could. Without his sight, Brandon focused on his other senses. He reached out with his hands, but also listened for clues in the sound of the water at their feet and the creaking of the building. He used his nose, too. What was that smell? Something made him think of bananas and pink grapefruit, and he frowned. What in the mall would smell like that? He ran through the shop directory in his head. Was there a smoothie place here? No, there was a Ben & Jerry's and yogurt place, but those were very different smells. Suddenly he had it, and he stopped. "We're going the wrong way," he told the others. "How do you know?" Pratik asked. "Smell that? Bananas and pink grapefruit?" "We're near the body shop. That's the smell of hair and hand stuff." "Oh my God, he's right," said Glee. "I can smell the ginger shampoo." Brandon turned the group around, following the map in his head. He moved more confidently now, and in his hurry, he ran right into something shin-high. Glee tried to hang onto him, but the thing was big and hard and hollow, and Brandon fell down face first on top of it. "Ow!" Brandon cried. His shin screamed in pain, and his right hand, where he was cut, stung all over again. "Brandon, you okay?" Richard called. "Yes," Brandon grunted. A fuzzy wet fur ball bumped into his arm in the water, and Brandon jerked back in disgust. A rat! New York City was full of rats. They had a bunch of them down here right now, trying to survive like Brandon and the others. The thought horrified him, and he scrambled to get away. In his panic, his hand brushed another of the fur balls, and he felt its big fingers. Its big fingers! Brandon put his hand back out in the darkness, afraid but curious, and felt for another one of the furry things. It had arms and legs and a big cloth eyes and teeth, with a tag sewn into the side. Brandon sagged with relief. He would have laughed if he hadn't been so afraid. He'd been frightened by a harmless stuffed animal. Glee helped him back to his feet, and Brandon ran his hands over the big, hollow thing he'd run into. It had all kinds of weird curves and contours, and was slick and smooth and cool and smooth, like fiberglass covered with a varnish. What was Brandon touching? A very recent memory came back to him, and he turned excitedly to the others. "It's the statue of Bugs Bunny," Brandon said. "We're at the Warner Bros. Store. We're going in the right direction." They couldn't get past the debris near the sunglass hut, but Brandon knew there was another way around, past the Fila store with its sportswear and sneakers that would take them right to the exit of Vesey Street, next to Duane Reade. They could get out of here. They could get out of there. Brandon told the others the plan, and they were off again. Brandon went slowly, achingly slowly, but he wasn't eager to repeat his Bugs Bunny collision with something that could be a lot more dangerous, like the railing to the path escalators. Deet, 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 doot, da-deet, deet, doot. The sound of a cell phone ringing out in the darkness made them all jump, and then stop in their tracks. "It's a Nokia," said Pratik. "My wife has one just like it. She's not here, thank God," he added. Deet, 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 doot, da-deet, deet, doot. The phone kept ringing. "What do we do?" Brandon asked. "See if you can get to it," Richard told him. Deet, 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 doot, deet, deet, doot. Brandon changed course, veering slightly off to the left. He got closer and closer, and then the ringing stopped. He froze and waited. "Do we?" he started to ask, and then deet, 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 doot, deet, deet, doot. The phone started ringing again. Brandon homed in on the darkness, leaning the human chain closer and closer, inch by inch, until his foot ran into something big and hard. He put his hands out and felt around, and Khalid and the others did the same. Deet, 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 doot, deet, deet, doot. The phone was buried under a pile of rubble, along with whoever had been carrying it. "I think I found a part of the ceiling, but I can't lift it," Pratik said, straining. "I can't even see what to lift," said Richard. "We have to leave them for the rescue workers when they get here," Khalid said quietly. "If they get here," Brandon added in his head, from the way no one spoke. He wondered if they were all thinking the same thing. They came together again in their human chain, and Brandon led them away while the phone continued to ring behind them. Deet, 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 doot, deet, deet, doot. Somebody somewhere outside the towers, desperately dialing a number again and again that would never be answered. A few minutes later, Brandon found the corner of what he guessed was the Fila store. When he made the turn into the next hallway, he saw a small fire in one of the restaurants down the way. It was Sabaro. Brandon had taken them right away. "We're almost there," Brandon told his friends. They inched closer. The fire wasn't big, but it was a beacon in the darkness. Probably a grease fire, Brandon thought, like the one he'd seen that morning in Windows on the World. The last time he'd seen his dad, he swallowed the memory. He had to focus on getting out, leading his friends to safety. A pile of debris blocked the exit up to Vesey Street, but there was enough light from the fire in Sabaro to pick their way up, over the rubble. When they were on the other side, they could see daylight at the top of the escalator. "We made it," Pratik cried. Brandon wanted to sink to his knees in thanks and exhaustion, but they couldn't stop yet. Not when they were so close. Still holding hands, they hurried up the stairs toward the sunlight at the top. They came out on Vesey Street, right across from the post office, and laughed and cried and hugged each other. They were out of the mall, out of the Twin Towers, out of danger. They had survived. But something was wrong. Very, very wrong. Soon they all began to notice it and stopped celebrating. A thick, heavy smoke cloud hung over lower Manhattan. Outside it looked bright when they were underground. But now they were up on the street. The sky was so dim it felt like twilight. It looked, too, like someone had driven a tank through the city. Trash cans and cars were crushed, lampposts were bent, bus stops were broken, and trees were shattered, and everything was covered with a fine light gray dust. A fire truck and an ambulance parked in the middle of Vesey Street were coated in the same stuff. their red lights still flashing underneath the thin layer of gray. The dust reminded Brandon of snow, not just the way it blanketed everything, but how it made things quiet, too. Muffled the sounds of the city, Manhattan was never quiet, not even at night. But now it felt as quiet and still as the underground mall had been after the blast. Something else was wrong, too. Where were all the people? Glee whispered. There were footprints in the dust, but the streets were empty. There were always people in Manhattan, millions of them. Now there were none. Pratik turned and took a step back. "Oh my God," he whispered. Brendan looked up. It took his brain a long moment to process what he was seeing, or what he wasn't seeing. What was supposed to be in the big empty slice of the Manhattan skyline, but wasn't there anymore. The South Tower of the World Trade Center was gone. The whole 107th floor skyscraper had collapsed. That's all for today. Thank you for listening.